Hello, everybody, and good evening on this wonderful happy Halloween. It's about 6:50 in the evening, and I know some of you are probably out there trick-or-treating or listening to scary stories or binging or partying it up. Today is a very particular special day for me. It's my daughter's birthday, so definitely super stoked and excited because it's one more day that I get to enjoy with my child. So, very, very emotional and very deep moment for me. But apart from that, I did want to have a very special and very last episode. It's a story that I've read a couple times, and I think it's pretty cool. The narrative, the theme is something that I know some of you listeners can probably relate to, or who are currently in college. Some of you educators who are listening to this as well, or just like this type of theme in particular, this might resonate with you. So before I do all that, though, I do want to let everybody know that after this, I will be posting a regular episode that I normally talk about, where I talk about parenting stuff, some ideas, some of the social stuff that I've seen currently, which is a shit ton. The shutdown is still ongoing, unfortunately. SNAP is getting basically cut off and no more funding, which is another theme and another topic, which I'll dive into and I'll save some of that stuff. The current standing of the San Francisco 49ers. We won't dive into that, but I want to streamline this episode and go straight to the point. And so sit back, enjoy, grab your cup of coffee, your cigar, your whiskey, whatever it is you're drinking, your favorite drink, whatever that might be, and just sit back and just enjoy this wonderful, wonderful story. So, the story is called On the Last Period. They say room 213 breathes. Not like a person, no chest rising, no sigh slipping from lips, but like the building itself exhales when the bell rings. A long, dusty rush that makes your hair lift and the prayers on the first row curl at the edges. The custodians shrug and blame the vents. The science teachers say differential pressure. The kids who walk past after last period, they walk faster. On a wet Thursday in late October, a kind of sky that looks stapled to the roof by low clouds, Miss Lorne gets the sub request at 6:12 a.m. When she's halfway through watering plants in her apartment so they don't brown while she's out, she needs the hours. New school year, new district, a new start. She says yes before checking which class needs coverage, because saying yes is how you survive this job. At 7:45 in the morning, she's holding the key to room 213 and reading the note the office left clipped to the sub packet. Attendance by hand. Projectors temperamental. Ugh, geez, is one of those classrooms. Lesson plan inside the front desk. No cell phone use. Lock the door at the bell. Do not erase the right side of the whiteboard. Principal's orders. A. Ortega. She takes a deep sigh. She looks up the hallway, gray tile trophy case reflecting a smudged version of her face. Yellowed flyers for last spring's musical. The hallway smells like pencil shavings and locker dust. There's a poster on the door to 213, a cartoon skeleton holding a notebook. Keep calm and cite your sources. The key turns sticky in the lock. The door nudges inward. She feels it, the breath, the long, quiet exhale as the room wakes to her. The fluorescent stutter, twice then bloom. 30 desks in 5 tidy rows. A scuffed world map, one crooked clock set to 8:12, though the bell has not rung. On the whiteboard, neat blue marker in teacher handwriting reads, English 2, Period 6, Thesis, Evidence, Explanation. Do not erase names. To the right, a list of names marches down the board. Each is written with the peculiar carefulness and practiced repetition. Some are ghosted from old ink layered over and over until the board has the skin of old bark. The last name sits by itself a little apart, with a dot of dried ink like a mole. C. Aldana. Do not erase the right side, Miss Lorne murmurs to herself, remembering the note. She rests her bag on the desk. The lesson plan is in there, paper-bound, clean. She flips it open. It's simple work. Thesis statements from a short story. Pair work. Exit ticket. A light thump at the door startles her. A kid with a backpack and wet hair peeks in. "You the sub?" he asks, as if he doesn't want it to be true. "That's me," she says. "Phone's away when we start. We'll keep it painless." He smirks, pauses, and claims the back corner. More bodies tumble in with the bell carrying rain on their shoulders, that specific high school smell of gum and deodorant and sleep deprivation. She takes roll from the left list on her desk, writing first names down as they call here, or make the little obligatory grunt that counts as present. When she reaches the last line on the paper, she flips it over, frowning. The photocopy ends at K. "Anyone missing a page?" she asks the room. Blank stares. She abandons the paper and glances at the board. The names were there, run L through Z. She can copy from those. It's an odd system. Who writes attendance on a whiteboard? But it's her first week at East Hollow High. Maybe the principal likes her eyes on the list. Maybe it's a memorial for last year's class. "Okay," she says, marker uncapped. "When I say your last name, say here." She works down the column. "Mendoza, here. Nava, here. Alcano, here." She gets to the last name. "C. Aldana?" Something about the dot of ink like a wound. She says it out loud without thinking. "Aldana?" Silence. A kid near the window coughs. She makes the check anyway, because that's how you survive this job. You believe the best version of the reality is in front of you. "All right," she says. "Thesis statements." They get to work. They are like most classes, a swirl of small comedies and small cruelties. A girl offers, the author uses weather to show the mood, and 3 kids parrot. The author uses weather. Like mockingbirds while grinning into their sleeves, a boy in the hoodie draws a perfect skull in the margin and then acts like he wasn't listening when he asks him to share, and then proves that he was giving a thesis so clean it could go in a textbook. Midway through, the intercom bleeps, the rubbery square beep, a pitching descending doot-doot that she will hear later in the bone behind her ear, as if the sound fell and stuck. The room holds its breath, a fuzz of static, the whisper of a voice caught too far from the microphone. "Lock. Door." The class collectively looks at her. "Probably a drill," she says. "Smile, lower the lights, lock the door, key the squeals." The rain taps harder. "Phone's away," she adds, because reminders anchor you in normal. "Keep writing." Then the projector hums on. No one is near the cart. The cord isn't even in the wall. Still, the lens goes from blank to a faint oval yellow, a kind of light that makes dust visible. The screen at the front of the room blossoms with a faint outline of a Windows desktop, and then it's in slow, janked increments like hands scrolling a mouse. You can't see. A document opens. It is a blank Google Doc titled Period 6 Attendance. The cursor blinks, waits, then begins to type in the top of the left corner all by itself. Aldana C. Present. Cool, someone breathes. Haunted Google. Who's that? The boy with the skull asks. Aldana who? No one, says a girl in a denim jacket too quickly, which means that she knows something. Her knuckles go pale on her pencil. Miss Lorna smiles, goes brittle. All right, she says louder. I'm turning this off. She reaches to the cart and finds the power cord slack and unplugged. The projector hum doesn't change. Her skin begins to prickle as if she has been stepped in a shallow current. A fist raps against the door. 3 brisk knocks. The whole class jumps. A gasp in one piece. She peers through the narrow window. The hallway is a reflection of itself, empty. Washed in the kind of fluorescent light that makes everything look 1 degree past real. No one there. I'm not liking this, someone whispers. Keep your voices down, Miss Lawrence says through her own voice isn't steady. She thinks of walking to the office. She thinks of leaving and never coming back. She thinks of how rent is due on the 1st and how her mother's voice on the phone last week had been proud in a careful way, and how quitting would feel. Miss Lawrence, says the denim jacket girl, we're not supposed to erase the names. I know, Miss Lawrence says too quickly. I saw the note. The girl swallows. No, like, ever. The projector's hum deepens, a pitch drop like a throat clearing. The document on the screen shifts. The title bar graying out as if someone pressed Control S. Below the typed line of attendance in smaller font, a sentence begins to appear. Roll called at 8:13. Door locked. All present observed. The clock above the whiteboard ticks over from 8:12 to 8:13, even though she remembers seeing it stubborn at 8:12 when she came in. The intercom bleeps again. Stay, the whisper says. Stay inside. Someone giggles in the back in a not funny way. Miss Lawrence steps to the whiteboard, and because she is a person who can't stand rules that don't explain themselves, she uncaps the blue marker and draws a tiny dot next to the name C. Aldana. Just a little affront, a test. The room exhales. One of the overhead lights begins to flicker, then steadies. She reacts to wipe the dot away. A small smudge with her thumb. Her finger comes away cold. Not marker ink, condensation. The board is wet where the name sits. A rectangle of cold spread under her palm, like she's pressed a giant window. What happened to them? She asked the denim jacket girl without turning. Last year, the girl says, a voice too small. Period 6 wrote their name on the board every day. The setting makes you real here, and if you get erased, you're not here anymore. That's ridiculous, says the skull boy, which is the prayer version of, I hope it's ridiculous. He stands and taps on the board 2 names up from Aldana, his own, H. Klein, and wipes it with his sleeve, laughing and daring. His name smears, then vanishes so cleanly like the ink was rewound into a pen. He blinks, he holds up his hands, looking at his palms like he expects to see the letters there. Okay, he says, pinwheeling the laugh back to his mouth. Okay, joke's over. Henry, Miss Lawrence says, but the desk where he was sitting in the back corner looks too empty, as if a chair-shaped hole had been cut from the scene. The class inhales. A girl in the second row shifts as if so to stand and then doesn't. The intercom bleeping again, a little frantic. Now, stay inside, the whisper says. Stay in your seats, do not erase. Henry, Miss Lauren repeats, scanning for him, counting faces that won't hold still, trying to make sense of the way heads turned toward a gap that doesn't fit. There's his backpack slouched against the leg of the desk like a dog waiting for its owner. There are his pens, 2 of them, clicking on the laminate. There is a skull he drew on the margin of his paper. He touches her own wrist cold. Her pulse tries to break out. The projector hums louder, then cuts to black. When it comes back, the dock at the screen has an extra line under attendance. Klein, H, absent. No, someone says, and someone else says, oh God, without meaning it prayerfully at all. A scrape of chair, legs against the floor sound like a flock taken off. Phones, Miss Lauren says automatically. No phones during, but they're already coming out. Faces lit, thumbs stuttering, signal bars empty in sync. One by one, screens go to SOS only. A soft, cautious tap against the door. Not a knock this time, the kind of pat a child uses to ask the bathroom it's taken. She goes to the door and locks to the window again. The hallway is still. A fish tank of light, but in the glass she sees, reflected over the empty corridor, the classroom behind her. And in that reflected room, there are not 30 desks, there's 31. The extra chair sits along the right wall under the whiteboard, facing away. A figure is in it. For a moment, she thinks it's a trick of an angle. For a moment, she thinks she has looked too fast. The figure is only a shadow like water that has learned to sit. It wears the posture of a teenager, shoulders up, knees planted, hands in sleeves. She turns around to look at the real room and the extra desk is not there. When she faces the glass again, it is there in the reflection, patient as a held breath. Miss Lauren, the denim jacket girl whispers, you said Aldana's at roll? She hears the girl and behind the words hear the logic. Saying the name makes the chair appear. Writing the name keeps the chair from staying. Erasing it, she does not finish the thought. Everyone, she says, not taking her eyes off the reflected shoulder shape. Stay seated, do not touch the board, do not say any names. Whose name? Oh, someone asks. Her throat is very dry. No name, she says, and then go to the room, because you have to offer something. Open your notebooks, write your thesis statements, explain them. If we keep working, this will stay a classroom. It is a ridiculous rule, but school is a cathedral of ridiculous rules that succeeds at keeping monsters in the coat closet. 30 pens begin to scratch. The sound is so normal that she almost cries. The projector hum flattens into a quiet breathing of a machine, pretending to be asleep. She reflected the figure, puts its head down on the desk. C, she hears herself say, because some teeth are made to worry a wound. What's the C stand for? The intercom bleeps as if it's in warning. The whisper catches, then resolves, clearer than before. The voice of someone who has practiced holding their mouth next to a grill of holes for a long time. Cielo, it says. Present. The paper in the front row lift and fall. The projector light dims. The rain stops like an intake of air, sudden. Under the whiteboard, under C. Saldana, there's a line of wet, letter by letter, as if someone is tracing from the far side of the glass. The name fills in, Cielo. Halfway through, the pen snag is obvious. A little hook in the elbow of the L's, exactly the kind of flaw you get when your hand remembers something you haven't written in a while. Don't erase it, Denim Jacket Girl says. So quiet, Miss Lauren nearly misses it. I won't, Miss Lauren says. Work. They work. The room swells around the ordinary like a lung around a song. She walks the rows, and where she walks the hum slackens, and when she stops it rises. She senses the reflected desk at her back as if it isn't a machine at idle, waiting to be engaged. She glances one more to the door glass. The figure in the extra chair wears the posture now, shoulders up, knees planted, hands in sleeves. But it is a version of her dressed in the memory of a hoodie and rain-stuck bangs. Dark eyes, sharp mouth, the age you can only keep if you never go home. The bell rings itself out across the building. An empty plate spun on a finger. The clock returns to the time the rest of the school knows. The intercom sighs. Kids scrape their chairs back and gather their things with the urgent efficiency of escaping. No one says a name on their way out. No one looks at the whiteboard. The boy's backpack remains. When the room is empty, it relives itself of breath again. Miss Lauren stands very still. The projector powers down on its own. A good soldier, dismissed. The extra desk and the reflection keeps being there for a few seconds after everything else has gone still, then unfolds like a shadow, returning to noon. At 3:45, after the last bell, she goes back to 13 because the office asks her to bring back the attendance. The hallway is exhausted and smells like bleach. She holds the paper roll sheet up, feeling foolish now about the scare that flared in her like a stuck match. She unlocks the door. The room breathes. On the whiteboard, the right-hand column of names looks the same as before. The dot of condensation next to C. Aldana has spread into a thumbprint shape, then dried. Almost invisible unless you knew to look. She caps the pen she hadn't realized she uncapped and writes one more line at the bottom of the lesson plan in neat teacher script. Period 6. All present observed to not erase names on the right. Lock at bell. Lauren. Before she leaves, she touches the board where the name Cielo sits. The surface is cool on the projector, carts away a single sheet that she doesn't remember printing. It is a thesis statement, in handwriting she recognizes from the desk in the third row by the window. The classroom is a mouth that only wants to say the name back to you. The evidence is that it breathes. The explanation is that some of us were never allowed to finish our last period. Miss Lauren takes the page and places it under the attendance sheet, as if filling the right proof in the right place might do what proof sometimes does, make the world choose a shape and stick to it. She locks the door. The corridor light buzz. The skeleton on the poster smiles with all its teeth. The next morning, at 7:45 in the morning, back in the office, there's another sub. Request for room 213. The secretary holds up the packet like a question and a dare. Miss Lauren thinks of rent. She thinks of the cold ink under her skin and a name that held. She thinks of a detention that isn't truly yours until you say yes. You say, here. She says, yes. When she gets to the door and once again unlocks the door inside room 213 at 8:12, the lesson on the board is the same. The right-hand column is untouched. She holds the marker like a candle and takes roll the way you might, like the edges of a dark room. When she reaches the last name, the classroom holds its breath and so does the building, and through the intercom a voice is waiting like it's waited every day and will wait tomorrow, patting the door, polite as rain. "Cielo," Miss Lawrence said softly, and for once in a school year full of careful lies, she's altogether honest. "Present." After later on that day of the classroom and normal activities, Miss Lawrence begins to do further research in regards to who Cielo Aldana was. And apparently, Cielo Aldana was a student from years ago. The story goes was that Cielo, one day after class with a previous teacher, decided to stay and help and clean, as she was a very studious child and loved to wander the hallways and pick up after everything. Cielo was a young girl who just loved to clean and loved to take care of everybody else. However, a lot of kids in school, as you might know, perceived this as weakness and were intimidated and bullied her. And so Cielo made a conscious decision to stay behind as often as possible and help the teachers that helped her, in hopes that somebody would protect her. Until one day, late October, it happened. The story goes is that Cielo had asked for a bathroom pass. As she was given a bathroom pass, she wandered to the hallway to go into the bathroom. When lightning struck the school and everything went dark. When the lights were immediately reset, Cielo never came back. Some say she was taken, some say she was abducted. But the point is that the cops and her parents looked all the way throughout the school and campus and could not find her. All they found was a Sharpie, an unkept pen, and a roll of attendance on the floor near the girls' bathroom. Some say the janitor took her and kidnapped her. Others say the school did. Some say it was a conspiracy that she never existed. But Miss Lawrence knows the real story. Cielo never left. But why? Why did she never leave? That is a story for a different day. Wow. All right, everybody. Well, hopefully you guys like that story in particular. For some of us that go to school, there's always stories about spirits and ghosts and paranormal activity in some of these schools. The older schools and the older parts of the country might have something along the lines of this. But this story was a little trippy. I mean, I don't know what you guys would do if you guys came into a classroom that apparently they had strict rules of what not to do. It always raises those questions as to like why. And if you're a curious individual or if you're a substitute teacher, I would love to hear those stories. Have you ever been a sub at a school that has provided you with a certain set of rules that you find a little weird? Maybe a student's not acting the right way. Who knows? I would love to hear those. But with that being said, I do want to say and let you get back to doing your trick-or-treating. Happy Halloween. Hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. If you guys like this format, I will continue doing this and doing a little bit more stories like this. I think I'm going to do one more before we dive right in. And I will leave you guys be with one particular thing. Be safe out there. Make sure you check those candies. I've seen a lot of stuff where there's people putting stuff inside the little Snickers bar. So if you are going trick-or-treating with a younger child, make sure you inspect that stuff. There is still evil people, mischievous people out there that obviously have zero disregard for your health. So with that being said, enjoy the rest of your evening and have a good night. Thank you.